One of the most recognizable attractions in Colombia's capital Bogota, Cerro de Montserrat, is a hill towering above the city with a church perched on its top. Bogota's skyline would not be complete without Cerro de Montserrat. It's a very short taxi ride from downtown Bogota. This is the area in front of the Montserrat, and now we are walking towards the ticket window to take a cable car to the top of the mountain.
In the line to buy the ticket, so it cost 14,000 Colombian dollar for one-way ticket and 23,000 for two-way tickets. But on Sunday, it's pretty cheap.
Known as the Athens of South America, Bogota has an extensive educational system of primary and secondary schools and colleges. Bogota has many cultural venues, including 58 museums, 62 art galleries, 33 library networks, 45 stage theaters, 75 sports and attraction parks, and over 150 national monuments. Many of these are renowned globally, such as the Luis Angel Arango Library, the most important in this region, which receives well over 6 million visitors a year. The Colombian National Museum is one of the oldest in the Americas, dating back to 1823. The Ibero-American Theater Festival, the largest of its kind globally, receives 2 million attendees enjoying over 450 performances across theaters and off the street. The Bogota Philharmonic is the most important symphony orchestra in Colombia, with over 100 musicians and 140 performances a year. The city has been a member of the UNESCO Creative Cities Network in the category of music since March 2012. In 2007, Bogota was named World Book Capital by UNESCO. The sanctuary of Montserrat in the eastern hills of Bogota can be seen from almost anywhere in the city. It is located at 3,172 meters above sea level, at the top of Montserrat or Cerro de las Nieves. Devotees walk up an almost 2-mile path to this traditional religious pilgrimage site, which began in 1620 with the shrine of Our Lady of Montserrat. The Basilica houses the image of the fallen Lord of Montserrat, an effigy of Christ which, according to the faithful, performs miracles, and at the top, visitors can walk the Stations of the Cross. The history of this sacred place dates back almost 500 years when Bogota was founded and is now an icon of the city. The mountain was originally named Cerro de las Nieves. It was baptized by the Muiscas for its frequent cloudiness. Years later, a monastery dedicated to the Virgin of Montserrat was founded there, and a path was created from the Church of Las Nieves to the top of the hill with small chapels for the pilgrims. The first religious festivity that had a pilgrimage to this hill was the Festivity of the Holy Cross. At the top of this hill is the shrine of the fallen Lord of Montserrat, made in 1640 by the artist Pedro de Lugo Albarracin. For many faithful Catholics, this statue of the Lord is miraculous and represents a special encounter with God. Hence, every weekend, many Colombians and foreigners make the climb up the hill. Faith is the driving force behind why this place receives many visitors. Once at the top of the hill, there are several activities you can enjoy, such as the main tourist attraction, the Basilica Sanctuary of Montserrat. In this church, you can admire beautiful sculptures from the colonial period, among them the important statue of the fallen Lord of Montserrat, which represents Jesus falling for the third time on his way to Calvary. It is said that it is miraculous that its hair grows, and when they try to lower it to the city, its weight increases, becoming an impossible task to achieve. Behind the sanctuary, there is a large plaza with handicrafts or souvenirs, and next to it several restaurants where you can taste the most varied gastronomy of Bogota, from hot chocolate with tamale and bread to the famous rib broth, changua, ajiaco, and much more. Also, adjacent to the sanctuary, there are two traditional restaurants from the last century that have terraces overlooking the mountain and the city, where you can enjoy typical Colombian food and even international dishes. At the top of Montserrat, you'll find beautiful gardens with breathtaking flower arrangements leading to the famous Well of Wishes, where you can make a wish by flipping a coin. Perhaps the most unforgettable feature here is, of course, the viewpoint, where you can take in the Cerro de Guadalupe, the best views of Bogota, picturesque sunsets, and then appreciate the capital illuminated at night. You will surely not want to miss this spectacular view. The foundation of Santafe in 1538 did not end the Muisca people's belief in worshipping in some parts of the mountains and to continue using the paths that led them to their sacred places. Rather, these Muiscas' beliefs were linked to the Christian custom of building chapels on the high peaks, which eventually made it possible for chapels to be built in Santafe both at the bottom of the mountain, on the foothills, and on the tops of the eastern hills. Between the 1620s and 1630s, it was customary to celebrate the Feast of the Holy Cross on the high hill of Las Nieves. The Brotherhood of the Holy Cross promoted the devotion of the cross, building stations along the ascending trail of the hill, representing the holy places of Jerusalem, placing on each station a cross with a sign that taught the mystery that was venerated there. The seasons ranged from the foot of the slope to the top, and the faithful went up praying, contemplating the mysteries of the Passion of Christ. Taking into account this devotion, Don Pedro Solís y Valenzuela, Jacinto Garcia, Domingo Pérez, and Francisco Pérez de la Puebla presented themselves before the president of the Audiencia and Archbishop of Santafe requesting a license to manufacture a chapel at the top of the hill. It seemed to the founders that the devotion to the Holy Cross would increase if it was complemented by the Virgin Mary. With this determination, the Virgin of Montserrat of Spain was integrated into the Santaferina Cross of Las Nieves, means the snows, and the chapel that was built on the hill was called Our Lady of the Cross of Montserrat in 1650. The choice of this advocation was due to an uncle of Pedro Solís, and Valenzuela had previously been abbot of the monastery of Our Lady of Montserrat in Catalonia, Spain. Father Bernardino de Rojas, at the time when he was administrator of the Chapel of Montserrat, ordered the carvings of a crucified Christ and a fallen Lord to the Santaferian sculptor Pedro Lugo de Albarracin, images for which he paid 105 patacons, as stated in the certificate issued on February 15, 1656. Initially, these sculptures were placed on the lateral side of the sanctuary, for which a chapel was built for the worship of the Holy Christ. Of the two images, the one with the fallen Lord gained importance over time and finally ended up replacing the patronage of the sanctuary of the Virgin of Montserrat. The sculpture of the Virgin of Montserrat disappeared from the place not before baptizing the mountain, which ceased to be marked as Las Nieves Hill, to begin to be called Montserrat Hill, the name by which it is known to this day. The fallen Lord of Montserrat, popularly invoked as Lord of Montserrat, became particularly known among the works of Don Pedro Lugo de Albarracin due to its early fame of being a miraculous image, which led devotees in the capital parish to continually pilgrimage to his shrine, seeking to obtain from him generous favors. According to St. Thomas, the images of Jesus Christ came into use in the Church for three reasons. First, to instruct those who do not know because they serve as objective lessons. Second, so that the mystery of the Incarnation may be easily recorded in the memory. And third, to foster the affection of devotion that springs more from what you see than from what you hear. The representations of Don Pedro Lugo de Albarracin fulfill these three reasons because, coming later than the Council of Trent and of Spanish root, they are loaded with realism and emotion, and therefore the need to cover the wood and make it look like meat. The faithful who observe it cannot fail to be moved and to discover in them the teachings of the Christian life. During the first decade of the 20th century, devotion to the Lord of Montserrat had reached such a degree that the sanctuary built in colonial times did not supply to host the pilgrims who came up daily to visit it, especially on Sundays. Seeing this urgent need, the Archbishop of Bogota, Monsignor Bernardo Herrera Restrepo, authorized Father Naciancino Ocampo to build a new temple with greater capacity. On May 3, 1915, the holiday of the Holy Cross began with the demolition of the temple that, for over 2.5 centuries, had housed the image of the Lord Jesus at the time of his crucifixion. Devotion to this image was notorious. When pilgrims would climb up the hill, they would carry with them the materials required by the project. Construction took 5 long years. After the Temple of Montserrat was consecrated to the Passion of Christ, Cardinal Crisanto Luque observed that devotion for the fallen Lord increased day by day. He recommended to the Holy See that they erect the Church of Montserrat as a minor basilica. Pope Pius XII, on May 25, 1956, taking advantage of the 3rd centenary of the image of the fallen Lord, forever conferred the honor and dignity of minor basilica to the Church of Montserrat, granting it all the liturgical rights and privileges that persuaded the temples of such dignity. The building of the sanctuary was completed in 1920. It has a funicular and a cable car to bring visitors to the top, especially those who prefer to get there faster. However, the pedestrian path is ideal for enjoying nature, the vestiges of the indigenous path, exercising, browsing interesting handicrafts, and interacting with the rich culture of this country. Montserrat is located in downtown Bogota, very close to the historic center of Bogota, on Carrera 2 Este No. 21-48, Paseo de Bolívar. If you want to climb the hill, there are 3 options where you can enjoy a different beautiful view of the city, because on the way you can see the whole capital of Colombia. If you want some exercise, have a penance, or simply prefer to experience the hill on foot, you'll have to take the opening and closing times of the Montserrat Trail into account. It's open every day, except Tuesdays, from 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. to go up and from 5 a.m. to 4 p.m. to go down. Therefore, it's important to keep an estimate of your time there.